Welcome back to another Empowerment Project podcast.
Yes.
So it has been 6 months since we last had our chat.
Been a while.
How that's flown by. Wow. Yeah, so obviously between then and now, we've not necessarily been overly consistent with these podcasts. I think we brought Lewis in afterwards, and after that it stalled. But we want to start bringing them back in. And I'm guessing we're going to use this conversation today just to sort of recap what we've been up to the last 6 months and some things that we've got coming up. Obviously February we did this podcast. It's now August. February we had a photo shoot, client photo shoot. Then in March we also did a client workshop. So we hired out a gym in King's Cross for the day and got maybe 20 or 30 of our clients in.
Yeah, something like that. It's been a good show up.
Yeah, a bit of a technique day, and really just bringing the community together. It's always good fun. And then we had another shoot again in May. So that's things from a business standpoint. I mean, the photo shoots, they're great for the clients in the sense it gives them a bit of accountability. They also is a good way of bringing the community together. We sort of do them in groups so people feel like accountable and they're all pushing towards similar like-minded goals. I'm guessing a big part of the photo shoot where maybe some people may look at it from an outside perspective and get it wrong in terms of the way we do it, at least anyway. They're not there purely just to like get absolutely shredded, but it's more so to achieve a personal goal of theirs. Now, inevitably, some people do want to push for that, and that's absolutely fine. But for most people, it's more so a case of like making sure that, you know, where they may have not felt comfortable in front of a camera, let's say 6 months ago, they stand in front of a camera on the day, they're comfortable, they're confident, and also the journey leading up to that is something that they can also sort of celebrate as well. I'm guessing some of my clients may want to push a little bit more, maybe get a bit leaner, especially the guys. Obviously, a lot of your women is more lifestyle related, right?
Lifestyle, confidence, and just generally, work on themselves and do something they've never done. Like same for me, when I did my first one, I obviously hated it. But then obviously when you do it, more you do it, easier it gets. And obviously I can then relate to my clients on their own journey. And the photo shoot is really just a celebration of what they've achieved and all the hard work they've put in. And yes, you get great pictures, but obviously it's a whole experience. You get to meet the other guys, which, we always have a great fun. So I can't wait for the next one.
We always make a bit of a day out of it. And it gets them to push them outside of whatever version of their comfort zone is, right? So if you don't really have a real need to push for a certain result, when you get to a point where you feel quite good and comfortable, that's where most people stop and back off. Where if they had this like initial incentive, we tend to find it allows them to push maybe a bit more than they thought was possible for themselves. So it's always cool to take a client past what they thought they could actually achieve. When we have that initial call with them and they're like, you know what, I'd like to achieve X, and we actually manage to get them to achieve Y, which is something bigger than their initial goal. I mean, it's quite a cool thing for them, but it's also a cool thing for us as a coach, right?
100%. And whenever we say to our clients the first time, do you want to, try to do this photo shoot? Mostly they would be like, no. And then suddenly, they obviously like the challenge, they change their mind and they start pushing. So, yeah.
And it's extremely surprising what someone can achieve in just 3 to 6 months, which is the average time we take to prep these people. If you really put your mind to it and you're consistent and accountable, like you can achieve some astronomical results, right? I mean, what's probably the biggest, I don't know, it's always subjective to each person, but what's sort of the biggest weight loss results you've had with a client that's done a photo shoot?
I think the biggest one was the May shoot. 2 of my girls, I think one of my ladies, it was over 20 kilos, like 25 maybe. And then another lady, it's just around 20. So yeah.
And what sort of rough time frame as well?
Actually, one of them was just less than 6 months. And then the other one, it was maybe 8 to 9 months. But my other client was, traveling throughout the summer and stuff like that. So we had to push and pull phases. It wasn't pushing throughout the whole time. So we did it more in a stable, sustainable, slower way, but still an amazing result.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think the average person when they do that shoot will probably lose anywhere between 1 and 3 stone.
Yes.
Roughly like 6 to sort of, 17, 18 kilos. The weight's obviously different for each person, but it just gives people a rough idea of like how much can be achieved in what is actually quite a short period of time, right? Okay, cool. So then the next thing then is obviously a little bit about us, I suppose. So, we've not necessarily been absent from work. We've still been very much focused and accountable with that. I mean, we had some of our clients at certain points throughout our wedding and honeymoon telling us to leave them alone and to enjoy ourselves. Obviously, the thing that we're grateful for is our job. It's flexible in the sense we can do it remotely, and we enjoy what we do. So we always make a conscious effort to stay on top of things, regardless of what we've had going on. We did get a bit of downtime with the wedding and the honeymoon.
Yes,
Over
we
the
got
last few
married.
months. Exactly. That was there we go.
Yay!
That was a lot of fun. But I'm guessing, so first of all, it would have started in May. We both had, I had my stag do in Marbella. You went to...
I went for my hen do to Mykonos with my girls.
Yep, and we had a few days break there each, which was good. And then in June was the wedding.
Yes.
So you went to Czech Republic, a good
beginning
3 weeks.
beginning of June. I traveled back home to obviously finalize all the details and just be there just in case anything needs to be done. And obviously you then came a week before the wedding, and then everything started.
Had the wedding,
yes,
and then stayed there for a week after that, and then the wedding itself.
Weddings.
Weddings.
We
I was about
had
to say
two weddings.
the weddings itself almost lasted a week.
Yeah.
Because we had one on the Thursday, and then we went back to the other side of Czech on the Friday. Then the Saturday we had more of like a religious wedding.
Yeah, with my sister.
With your sister, and I mean the wedding itself. Yeah, I was a bit of an emotional wreck.
We both were.
We were.
It was. It was generally perfect, and it was.
We didn't really
the
know what
best.
to expect, but I keep saying that to people. I didn't know what to expect, but it exceeded my expectations. So whatever they were, it was very good.
And we had our babies with us, our furry babies.
Yeah,
which was
in
good
35-degree heat, poor things. Sound like two
eating their lick mats whilst the ceremony was on, and everyone was hearing them.
Sound like two little piglets.
Bless them.
And then stayed in Czech for a week, and then in July came back. Obviously, your niece came over with us to look after the dogs for the summer, and then we went on our honeymoon. So we did the off to Kenya, did the safari.
Yes.
Which is, anybody that's not done that, I would highly recommend
It's
it.
definitely a must do on top of your bucket list. It needs to be done.
For sure. Yeah, probably one of the best things we've done, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And then that was only 3 days, but a good amount of time. And then off to Zanzibar for a bit. And that's where we did a little bit more work and sort of chilled at the same time. And then came back. And then we've been back now in August, and time to crack back on with things. So I'm guessing a few things to talk about while we're away that some people may get some value from is sort of how, may look at some like fitness influencers or even coaches or, people in the fitness industry and just think that they're constantly on it if they're trying to sort of keep on top of their health and remain in relatively good shape and things like this. I mean, we haven't really tracked a single calorie or weighed any of our food since really doing the photo shoot, right? And what was that? That was almost a year ago now that we did our photo shoot. Actually, I had a Facebook memory come up the other day of like the day that I stopped my photo shoot prep, and that was the 31st of July last year.
There you go.
So it's just over a year since we stopped that. I mean, my actual shoot was obviously last September, but the prep finished this time last year, and we've not really weighed or, I mean, we have obviously been on top of our food, but the accuracy of it has now been minimal. And I suppose there's a few reasons why. It's like because we went through a process, we achieved a goal. We, obviously over time learned more and more and more about ultimately what works for us, what we like to eat, the rough portion sizes of it, how to balance it, how to make trade-offs. And then over time, you can open up the scope of flexibility as and when is the right time to do so. So this is the thing, is like, I'm guessing to start with, we'll try and simplify things for clients and get them to be as accurate as possible and not necessarily make it restrictive, but just remove too much choice because that creates more problems and more confusion. Then over time, like as they see the progress that they want, they achieve their goal, it's like, how can we then open up flexibility and find an element of maintenance? And, while our weight has been fluctuating a bit, obviously with everything that's been going on, the drinking and all the other things that we've been enjoying.
Oh, there's been a lot of drinking.
Yeah, exactly. It's not been fluctuating too much, and we've been accountable to, within sort of half a stone, within 2, 3, 4 kilos max. And that's what we always say to clients, like, you have to be okay with that. And just like you referred back to a minute ago, your health and fitness journey is always going to go in push and pull phases. There's going to be periods throughout the year where you can be a lot more focused and you want to be more focused and you can see progress. There's also going to be periods throughout the year when inevitably you have to pull back a little bit, and you have to be okay with that. But it's also just knowing how to go about it. And I always use this as a good example to clients for them to understand this. Like when we were on holiday, for me, like I'm not really bothered about dessert. I don't really care for like the bread when they bring it to the table. I'm not really bothered about snacks. I just like having a massive lunch and a massive dinner. More than happy with just 2 big meals a day. And I'm more than happy to have like loads of veg, loads of meat, and different carbs and stuff like this on the plate. And that's just me done from food. I feel more than happy and satisfied off of eating that. I look forward to eating things like the steaks and the tuna and all that type of stuff, where you obviously like your desserts.
Yeah.
So you eat the same way I will, but you'll have the dessert on top. On the flip side, I don't have that because later on in the evening, I'm having 3 or 4 or maybe 5 beers.
Yeah, but previously I would be that person like having breakfast, like, oh, let's run to the pastries and cakes. But I know that's just gonna get me feeling off for the rest of the day. So even like, this summer I really enjoy eating veggies. So that was the first place I would go to, like you, I would fill up my plate, loads of protein, loads of veggies, and then obviously I would have my desserts. I would not have breakfast as well, and that's the trade-offs we were making, going for steps as well, and just generally trying to find, certain gaps where we can enjoy ourselves a little bit more.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, I did have days when I came to you and I felt like, a little bit like, like been eating a little bit more, drinking a little bit more. But holidays are to be enjoyed, and we jumped straight back on track when we arrived. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the fact we were away for a month or 6 weeks, and even prior to that, there was some busy periods. Your weight only going up and fluctuating within a little bit is absolutely fine, right? And you're still going to look and feel how you want. But it's like I said, it's about making your thing work, and it's about saying no to some things, not necessarily everything. Obviously, when you're maybe on something like a photo shoot prep, depending on the level of results that you want to achieve, you're going to have to say no potentially way more frequently than you would like. And some people, may think that they can have this whole flexible dieting approach, which for some it may work in the early stages. But as time goes by, if you want to still see fast results that keep you interested, inevitably you're going to have to be more tight with what you do.
Yeah, you're going to have to make sacrifices. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a point in time, last summer, where we would just almost avoid social events because we were preparing for this photo shoot event, right? Not necessarily saying that's the right thing to do, but obviously me and you wanted to achieve a big result, therefore it required big action. Where now it's like we want to be more flexible with our approach, but still, look and feel good. So it's about making our thing work. And for me, walking past the dessert aisle and there's a shed ton of macaroons and stuff there, wasn't the easiest thing saying no, but in my head I'm like, you know what, prefer to say no to this than say no to beers later on. So it's just like about finding your thing, especially if you're on like a lifestyle journey. You don't always have to be on a diet. And like that diet that we did, in the grand scheme of things, was short term. It was 4 or 5 months. We haven't dieted since. So in the last 2 to 3 years, we've technically dieted for what is only 4 or 5 months. Apart from that, the rest of it's more focused around performance, lifestyle, and just enjoying ourselves, I guess.
Yeah, we still follow the same rules when we eat. It's just obviously we're not tracking or measuring, but we always have the protein there, the veggies, and have that little bit of what we like here and there.
Yeah, but we always want to eat good food because we want to feel good, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's just find ways of actually eating natural foods, like single ingredient products that you enjoy, because like that's not a diet, that's just eating how we should be eating. Like we're not made to constantly eat processed foods that have a massively long shelf life. On the flip side, eating them sometimes is fine, but inevitably, like the more of that food you eat, probably the worse you're going to feel, and the harder you're going to find it to control things like your appetite, your energy, and your weight, right?
Yeah.
So like we do have them things, but I'm guessing another thing that we'll do is sometimes food pair, because it's just an easier way of managing things. Like we've all done this. We've all opened up just like, I don't know, a chocolate bar or a bag of sweets mid-afternoon when we're feeling really lethargic. We've ate that, we have a big energy spike, and then within an hour we want the same thing again, and it's almost repetitive then for the rest of the evening. We feel like we've opened up a can of worms that we can't close. So sometimes if you have like some nutrient-dense food paired up with something a bit more processed, for example, let's say you're having lunch, you're gonna have a little bit of chocolate after your lunch, directly after, you should find that it shouldn't affect your energy or your appetite as much as if you just had it by yourself. So therefore it's easier for you to sort of just wait until your next meal once again. So there's nothing wrong with having these foods. It's like, okay, how is your average diet dressed up? And also like, in what order are you eating things? Like you said, if you had a load of pastries and sugar for breakfast, you're probably going to go on this whole roller coaster with your energy and appetite throughout the rest of the day, which makes it way more challenging.
Like you had your pancakes last week.
Yeah, exactly. We went for a brunch
for your birthday.
Yeah, I went for brunch at like, I don't know, 11 o'clock in the morning. And I don't even normally eat breakfast at the moment just because it just works for my lifestyle. I prefer bigger other meals or whatever. But anyway, we had pancakes at like 11 a.m. and by sort of 2:30, 3 in the day, I'm like, I need to take a nap. I felt absolutely wrecked. So sometimes it's fine having these foods, but if you're doing it constantly and you're constantly tired and your energy's not good and you don't want to work out and you find it difficult to actually manage your appetite, then ultimately making changes, not necessarily fully removing it, but changing things up will make it a lot more manageable for you to actually stick to it. So sometimes it's just looking at the simplicity of that and getting that right. And we'll even get clients that will like want something optimal. They'll like look deep into their macros, the meal timing, and all this type of stuff. And don't be wrong, when I work with athletes, I'm all for that. I think that gives them the edge. But most people are looking for the edge and they've not even got the basics right.
Yeah.
Right? We need to address the basics first.
And those are just habits we kind of slowly try to change as well, right? Because if you have something all the time, you will just crave it all the time. That's why what I work with a lot of my clients is changing the habits, you know, and kind of recreating new healthier habits, but still have that what they want, but obviously not all the time. And maybe change the timings of when they have it, and just not feel crappy after it.
It's like how you feel about your choices, and inevitably, like sometimes you're gonna make mistakes. We do it. I'm like, okay, I'll have like 3 beers tonight. I end up having double or triple that. I'm like, oh dear, and then maybe some food on top that I didn't necessarily budget for either. It happens. The biggest thing is have empathy with yourself for it. Like, don't punish yourself for it, because then you're never going to be proactive about actually improving it. Food's never perfect. Ours is never perfect. It's just a case of like, okay, how can you eat in a way that makes you feel good most of the time and gives you like an element of control? That's what you want. Right?
And then, what you said, just like, don't blame yourself for it. Just wake up and then continue as normal. The worst thing you can do if you have a massive blowout on Tuesday, then Wednesday you'll be like, okay, I might as well continue like that for the rest of the week, right? Just you wake up, you're okay about it, you continue as normal.
Yeah, and there's also just like perspective and education on these things that really help our clients as well. Like sometimes if they have a big evening on, let's say socially, with the food or the drink, and they may see 1 or 2 kilos up on the scale the next day, when they actually understand how much physical like food or calories they would need to consume in order to gain 1 or 2 kilos, it then puts it into perspective. Like, 1 kilo of body fat is 7,700 calories. That means someone would need to eat that plus their maintenance on one day, which for most people is going to be around 10,000 calories as a minimum on one day just to put on a kilo. So when you sort of understand this, and not necessarily the boring stuff of it all that we understand, that we enjoy, but just educating our clients just a little bit further allows them to make a little bit more informative choices, and they don't feel like they've gone 2 steps backwards when they see that the next morning. They just understand it, it's scale fluctuations for a different reason, which for more often than not is digestion or water retention.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, it's just having like the mindset and the perspective around that. Like I said, inevitably when we came back, it's like we had this period last year where we were both like extremely lean. We both were, from a male or female context, for a large period of time. And then obviously having to like gradually go back up to what is, to be honest with you, a realistic place to maintain, as well as a healthier place to maintain, is sometimes a bit of a challenge. And thinking that you're going to actually stay in that point permanently is like, well, I mean, it's not really going to happen unless you want a very restrictive lifestyle. But it's also not to forget, like, it's not necessarily healthy to be that lean either. Like when I was down at the point of doing that the photo shoot, when I was probably anywhere, I think when I did a DEXA scan, anywhere between about 5 to 7%, like my energy was awful. My appetite was constantly elevated, 0 sex drive. And like in the gym, my performance, so exactly. And it's similar with you. Like obviously for being a woman, you had to be very light in order to be like very lean.
Yeah, like look, I got myself somewhere I've never been, but I also know, like, yes, I might have had a flat stomach. I always wanted to, but like, for example, this year I'm 2-3 kilos up than what I was for the shoot, but my lifestyle is so much better. I can still go out, enjoy myself, and still feel and look how I want to. Yes, I might not be as lean, but I'm happier, 100%.
Yeah, so even for us, like we obviously help a lot of clients manage this, and I'm guessing this is what it refers back to, because we have such a socially active period this year, or with the wedding and everything else that's been going on. It's like we've been obviously trying to manage that as best as we can, so it doesn't spike back up, because we're at a point where you're very lean, and yes, you may look good, but you don't necessarily feel it all the time, and you do feel very restrictive. So just finding that happy medium spot that we found. We also help clients try and find that spot. What I would say though is, by us doing that whole journey to start with, allowed both of us, no different to what we say with clients, exceed what we necessarily thought was possible to start with. Like you never thought you were going to get down to 65 kilos and be really lean around the stomach.
I never thought I'll break down to 73.
Yeah, I never thought I was going to get like my arms and legs absolutely peeled. Never thought that was going to happen. Just never been there. I've been in good shape plenty of times, but I've never been that lean. Now it's allowed us to find a place just above that where it's like a good maintenance spot, So, sometimes pushing on and to like achieve a big goal is good. It's just also knowing like how to deal with the aftermath of it as well. Because otherwise, if that's not dealt with properly, that can get pretty ugly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it took us a while as well, isn't it, to get it after the shoot? So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a mindset thing.
Yeah.
And it's doing it slowly. And that's what we'll do with a client. Like, it's like, okay, initially we need to achieve this goal for them to ultimately sort of feel good and have this confidence boost, and for them to ultimately feel like joining the EP was worth their time. And then afterwards, we then spend at least 2 or 3 months helping them find what would be a middle grounding with what they've achieved, right?
Because that's the time where all the old habits will start to creep in and you feel like, okay, I achieved my goal, like, forget the structure. But when actually for us, nothing has changed as much because, you eat a little bit more, but you still need to stay accountable.
Yeah. And there's food variety as well, of course, like you said a minute ago, like in terms of how we introduced that. But I'm guessing like most people either have this version of like pushing and achieving progress, or just their old habits. They don't know what the pulling back is and what the in-between looks like.
What's the after?
Right. And this is why we do focus on that with people regularly. Like, for example, they may push on for 10, 12, 15 weeks. And then even if they want more, sometimes we suggest taking a 2, 3, 4 week break.
Yeah.
There's plenty of reasons for this. It's good for the body sometimes when you're putting constant impact and pressure on the body. After a period of time, you'll notice things like, well, first of all, like your physical health, it's going to damage that in terms of how you perform. Also, your mental health, it's not great to be putting that element of pressure on yourself. You'll find that you'll have issues with your digestion, probably your relationship with food. So this is why if you're on a bigger weight loss journey or you're trying to achieve a big result, breaking it up into smaller segments is actually a good idea. And that's what we do with a lot of people, right?
And for you, it will be kind of more realistic, rather than thinking, I need to lose 30 kilos. If you break it down into smaller chunks and you go like 3-5 kilos, it seems in your head, okay, I can actually do that. I'll do it. Let's go again.
Yeah, it's way less overwhelming. Like,
yes.
Most people are trying to ask themselves how to get 30 kilos or 20 kilos or 10 kilos off, whatever it may be, rather than like, how do I just get my first 1 or 2 kilos off? And if you focus on that, whatever you did to achieve that 1 or 2 kilo weight loss, then duplicate that times 5 or 10, and you're going to be where you want to be, right? So it's like you said, breaking the goal down. But it's also like, by having these little breaks in between, it allows people to learn a little bit of maintenance while on this journey of losing. So once we finally do get to the point where they've maybe achieved their goal, and we make them understand, okay, look, you may go back a little bit here. It's not the end of the world, but their aim is to find rough maintenance. They already learned some habits and some understanding of how to maintain. Rather than being on this constant dieting journey, they almost then can't wait to stop it. And then, like you said, all these old habits are reintroduced way too fast. And obviously when that scale weight's flying back up, it can be quite disheartening.
Yeah, I was going to say the same word. And that's where we kind of focus on performance goals afterwards as well, right? Because when you have a number that you're shooting for on the scales or how you want to look, it's pretty easy. But then when you get there, you need something new to be still interested in health and fitness. So that's why we always jump on the calls with clients and make sure we set some new goals and targets so they still have something to work towards, right? Not just fat loss anymore.
Yeah, so that's exactly the same as what we did. It's like, you diet down, achieve a certain goal that you feel great with, then learn how to maintain that. So that would be what would be phases 3 of our program. Once we feel like maintenance is actually in a great place with a client, it will then be like phase 4, which is performance. So we'll ask them about things that they're interested in outside of fat loss. And if they're not interested in necessarily anything, some people are not, they don't necessarily love the gym, we just hold them accountable to work out to feel good. We'll then set them some goals and targets that may keep them interested. This could be simple things like achieving some body weighted goals, like X amount of pull-ups or a certain amount of push-ups. It could be that they want to deadlift a certain amount of weight. It could be an endurance-based goal where they want to run a 5 or 10K or just run it more efficiently. But by then having these new goals that they're focusing on that are not necessarily fat loss related, first of all, is a great mental shift, because most people have only ever associated the gym and nutrition with dieting. We're now getting them to associate it with performance. So I think that's a really good thing. But the other thing is it actually gives them future goals to keep working towards. Yeah. So they now got other things that they're actually, okay, look, I need to be in the gym this week. I need to be accountable with my food for other reasons. Otherwise, if you're just sort of like doing it, I mean, I love the gym. The times I've got the most bored of the gym is when I've not had a plan. Because obviously as a coach, I know what I'm doing. But even then, if I just go in there and wing it, I have no structure. I just jump from one machine to the next. I get lazy. I forget how much I should be lifting. And I get bored very quickly. And I also notice straight away that my progress lags. So it's important that we all have some element of structure constantly, even if sometimes there's just a little bit less pressure than others, right? Otherwise, it's like you're just going to get bored and probably stop.
Yeah.
And I suppose the last part of our program, phases 5, is just to make sure that this journey we take a client on, they then understand how to piece and put that all together themselves, like how to program, how to put their nutrition together depending on their, what they've got coming up and their current preferences, and just making sure that they're very self-sufficient. They almost become their own coach. When they're at that point, they can pretty much exit the program. Obviously, they're not tied to us. People can leave before. But it's like, if we can get someone to that spot, then that's really the ultimate goal for us as a coach.
Yeah, because that's, like for me, that's the first time I've been able to do it myself. So it's nice to know you have the control and awareness of your own body and health and being accountable, and you can have whatever you want, but you still know how to, keep your results.
Yeah, that is important, because then it's like, you know how to manage your own situation. You're not then going to tap into some of these diets and quick fix solutions that you felt were necessary before. It's like, you know how to look at it from a third person perspective and how to make the right choices for yourself. And that's really what we want to get, because we'll get clients from all ends of the spectrum, and we have to use, if you like, different dieting tactics with each person depending on their lifestyle. Like, for example, I've got some clients who, own a business and maybe eating out for breakfast, lunch and dinner pretty much every single day of the week. I also then have some other clients who are more than happy to weigh every single gram of food they eat. Now, that is two different ends of the spectrum. And we have plenty of people in between as well. So the level of advice, or the type of advice, I should say, that I have to give them types of people is totally different.
Totally.
So this is why what you do is not, there's no necessarily right or wrong element to it. It's like, it has to be right for you, because you can have something that's in quote optimal, but you're never going to follow it. And then it's not optimal, is it? It's pointless.
Yeah, you need to enjoy it, and it needs to fit to your lifestyle. That's what we always say, we never build any program or approach for a client based on what we think. We need to know their routine. That's why obviously the first phase we take clients through is the most, but it's very important, because that's where we learn about them, about their lifestyle, and then we can start kind of putting things together for them.
Yeah, this is what we say. The first 2 weeks of the program, there's very minimal pressure. There's no necessarily any specific targets, but we'll put together a plan that's discussed with them on the call that we feel like is the right thing for them. They'll run with that plan, and we'll create a feedback loop, basically, where we'll have daily conversations with the client around their exercise, their habits and their nutrition, to see how they're responding to what we've given them. And then we jump back on a call in 2 weeks' time to discuss how it's all gone, and then make any necessary tweaks, as well as then discuss about, okay, right, over the next 3 months, where should we be? Once someone's up to speed what they should be doing, we're more aware of what's the right thing for them, and we spent a couple of weeks working on that. Then having an element of pressure and accountability is a good thing, because it will actually make them take action. But having pressure and accountability that's maybe too high in the first couple of weeks when you're trying to form new habits is almost the worst thing you can do. So we do the program in that format because it always works extremely well. And it gives the client as well as us just a chance over the first 2 weeks just to really get to know each other, get up to speed with what's the right thing for them. And then we can really tailor something to their needs that we know that ultimately they are going to be able to follow it. Now, there's obviously some times where there has to be an imbalance. I think having this idea of being always balanced with your approach is a bit of BS, to be honest. There's going to, like we said, last year, we didn't necessarily have a balance. We wasn't going out for certain periods because we wanted to achieve a certain result. But it's just knowing at certain points that, okay, look, this is only for a month or only for 2 months, whatever it is. And it also comes down to your expectations of results. If you're happy to see progress slower, then there could be more of a balance. If you want to see progress faster, then there maybe have to be a bit of an imbalance for a short period. But it's just knowing how to weigh that up and what's right for each person. Because some people's version of an imbalance may be that you've asked them to go from drinking, 3 times a week just down to 1, and they're not happy with that. On the flip side, we didn't drink for 2 or 3 months, right? So each person's level of sacrifice is obviously going to be different, but it's just finding the right balance for them where they feel like, okay, the efforts they're putting in is giving them a reward for them efforts. And then in turn, they're going to be consistent and keep going
and get the results. But also, I always, whenever a new client starts with me, the one thing I always say, just because you started, don't feel like everything now needs to change and this needs to be perfect. Don't ever aim for perfection, right? You just want to get better and better and gain understanding and better perception of what needs to be done. So I always say aim to do better, not perfect. And if anything, we want our clients to actually make mistakes because they will learn from them.
Yeah, that's the same time you are going to learn. And it's even no different with us. There's been plenty of times over the last 6 to 12 months where we've changed our food strategy. We went from, like I said, weighing and tracking everything for a short period. We then went down to just...
everything. Yeah. Jacob tracked everything.
Yeah, well,
what did you not track? Every single gram, I think, of everything, even maybe vegetable, was there on that scale.
But you know me, if I'm doing something, I'm doing it properly.
Yes.
I'm either 200% in or not at all. So you know that. But then obviously after that, we went through periods where we followed, some structure with a little bit more flexibility, and then introduced even more flexibility. And, over time, like I said, the more you know, like how you like to eat, what you like to eat, and the rough portion sizes, you can have that level of flexibility with it. So yeah, that's what we always try to introduce with clients as well.
Yeah.
Question.
Just finding trade-offs.
Yeah. Question. What was your favorite part of the wedding?
The favorite part of the wedding? Oh, a lot of stuff. Oh God, it was just a perfect day. But I guess, because we haven't seen each other the morning, me walking down the aisle and then seeing you and everyone there, and it was just perfect. I think that was like my favorite moment. And just the dancing. It was the first time I was ever on a dance floor. The first one. I never do that. I was a little bit drunk. But I had the best time. Like I was doing splits and it was just dancing with all my friends, with the dogs, I picked you up. It was, just the whole day was perfect. Whole day.
And then honeymoon. What was your favorite part?
Honeymoon. Safari, 100%.
Yeah.
100% safari.
What part of a safari?
The part I wasn't on the little bloody plane. So no, seeing giraffes, because they're my favorite animals.
That was crazy, right? We landed in like some this airstrip, I guess. It was just like coming down it's like little stones and mud when you're coming into land. And we got on this like little safari jeep. And within 5-10 minutes, we're literally like seeing animals. And within like 20 minutes, we were already seeing the giraffes, right? Yeah, it was cool.
And zebras. Cool. Oh, well, so that. What was your favorite part of the wedding?
Remember to ask me. I'd say the cake, because I just thought
cake.
No, just like when we were like cutting it, like the whole time. No, not eating it. Eating it was good as well.
There's me. I don't like desserts.
Yeah, no, but I wasn't bothered about eating it, but more so the just that part there. I thought was quite funny because I also walked downstairs and I just forgot about it all, I guess. So I sort of when it was there, it was all quite nice.
And also, you do cutting cake at the wedding. You cut me like a little square. Like, who does that?
I know, you were so angry. Give you a portion. You were like,
give me bigger.
Yeah, you said can I have a little bit, and I'll give you a little bit, and then you had to go at me for giving you a little bit.
I like my cake.
Oh, Jesus.
That was good, actually. That was really good.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. And honeymoon?
Honeymoon. Ooh, there's lots of... It's hard to say, isn't it? I don't know. I like the whole just experience on the camp. I thought that was like really, really cool. Just because like, you're literally in a tent, whereas like I'm guessing a bit like glamping really, isn't it? It's like a tent, but like a house inside the tent. And there's like no barbed wire around the place. There was only like 5 or 6 tents in our whole camp. And it was just like, it was like quite exclusive, but it was also just like the people that you were with made it very like personal to you. And then just knowing that like you wake up in the morning, there's like animals are outside your room was just like crazy as well. So I just thought like that was probably my favorite part, just the experience of like waking up there, I guess.
No, it wasn't making a fire from elephant poo and sticks.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That was good actually.
Yeah, that was good. That was very interesting seeing like, all the Maasai's.
Yeah, we went to visit the locals, the Maasai people, and that was just incredible.
Really good, right?
Yeah.
So now that we're back, obviously the last few months we've just kept the program doors shut, if you like. We've had the odd person that's sort of wanted to get involved and messaged us about the program, and we've spoke with them. But as a whole, we've just kept the doors closed to the Empowerment Project, really just because of all the stuff that we've had going on like a personal level. And, like I said, our job is remote and we're grateful for that and be able to do some of our things. We also want to make sure that if we're bringing in like a new influx of clients, because things were really busy before leaving, that we can also like keep on top of the clients that we already have. So
manage it.
Yeah. So we decided rather than getting ourselves like snowed under, we were like, we'll put a pause on any new people, but we'll focus on just our current people. And that's been going quite well since we've been away and managed to manage that quite nicely. Like I said, even some people were having a go at us and moaning to not message them. But yeah, so now that we're back, we're looking at probably opening up the doors to the Empowerment Project soon-ish, as and when we need to probably discuss that. But at the moment, they've still been shut for the moment, but we will look into that pretty soon. We're also looking at potentially bringing on a couple coaches to help out, which will be interesting.
The family's growing.
Yeah, some specifically for more down the nutritional and performance route, some around the female fat loss route, and some people that have maybe had a similar journey to you, so they can also share their experiences, which I think is really important. So me, you, and our VA Regina are going to have more help, which will be fun. So exciting. A few bits going on.
Yeah.
And then I suppose the last few other, before I go into
and
that.
Photo shoots as well.
Yeah. I'm going to say,
obviously, two of them we have coming up. One in September,
So
one in
next month.
October. Yeah. And both end of the month. Both quite bigger groups. So definitely it's going to be a good day again. We got some couples as well this
we've got a
time.
few couples.
Actually, yeah, we have one couple on the... No. One couple, and then one from America all the way coming to see us. So that'll be good fun. So yeah, loads of exciting stuff for our clients. I'm planning a walk to do with our clients next month somewhere, just to do something a little bit differently. Because like you mentioned, we obviously did the weightlifting workshop. We always try to do stuff for the community, just so the guys get to know each other. We obviously did our Christmas drinks, which was a good fun as well. Then the weightlifting workshop. And now I thought we can do some nice coastal walk. So I'm going to plan that. Then we have the shoots and probably more drinks for Christmas because it's coming again.
Yeah, so there's a few more events that we put in the calendar. We try to do like maybe once every 6 to 8 weeks, try to introduce something. Obviously, we do like our live challenges inside the group every month. We're always doing some like live coaching calls. So, each client will get assigned to their own coach, but we also try to bring the community together when possible as just like additional things to the empowerment project. Because it's good to bring like-minded people together. People feel part of something. There's a whole extra level of accountability there, and also people learn from each other just as much as they may learn from their coach. So
and you can see that the shoots, right? Because like what we try to do, we put the guys into WhatsApp group a couple of weeks before, because they're on the similar journey, different reasons, but similar journey. And so yeah, when you see them obviously on the day, they get to know each other and support each other. And like last shoot, obviously we had eight people, and it was great to see the guys just coming together and helping each other. So that's why we are pushing kind of onto our group, because it's a great group of people.
Yeah, we're grateful to have the clients.
Very grateful.
They are legends. It's only them that are listening to this.
Yeah.
And then so we got that going on. Obviously, we got the coaches that we'll be looking at introducing, some of the events, photo shoots. We want to be doing more of these podcasts. We have a few of them scheduled in now, so we're accountable for that. So we'll be bringing in some friends that we feel like could add some value, some interesting stuff, maybe fitness, business, just generally their life. We also have some clients that we're bringing in as well, that will be sharing some of their journeys from all different backgrounds. Some clients that will be doing this won't even necessarily be from the UK, but as and when they're in the UK, we've tried to grab them and say, come and talk with us. So yeah, it should be very interesting. And then the last thing as well, we'll be looking at opening up a little bit more of a broader page for the Empowerment Project on sort of our social media platforms at some point soon. And there'll be a few cool things going on there that we want to do to help other people out, that maybe even external to the program. So we'll say more about that at a future date. And then lastly, things that
upskilling our own skills as well, aren't we?
Yes, of course. Yes. Yeah. So we will be starting off another nutritional course to get accreditation this time next year, but we'll be starting the course next month. So that'll be a whole year. So because we've got plenty of time, of course.
It will keep us busy.
So we'll be doing that, which I'm looking forward to that. It's further education for me as well as for you. And we're always trying to look at ways in which we can benefit our clients, invest back into the program, and make the experience generally more beneficial for them. And then lastly, in terms of things that are coming up, we'll come and talk more about that in the next thing, but I'm in the midst of just finishing off some of my prep for my triathlon next month.
Well, actually, summarize what's been happening the last 4 to 5 months.
All right, we'll keep it brief because we'll talk more about this in another podcast, but so obviously it's been a little bit on and off with the training, but doing this one, the whole point of this one was just to get fit and get in a good frame of mind for the next one. So the next one's going to be Barcelona next year, which for anybody that's sort of into triathlons or anything like that will understand. But basically a full Ironman, which is almost a 4-kilometer swim, 180k bike ride, and then a marathon at the end, which is pretty brutal. And I don't feel like I'm fit enough for that right now at all. But I was using the half Ironman, which is next month, so about 5 weeks from now, to basically prepare myself for the full. So the half is everything of the full, which is about 2-kilometer swim, 90k on a bike, and then a half marathon. So you still have to be pretty fit to get it done. But I started off my training early because I knew the summer period was obviously going to be a bit challenging. So I started off really in January, mainly with a swim. I got a swim coach because for me, I was just like, I have no clue of where to start with this. At least with like training with the running and the bike, I sort of understood how to program the volume and intensity and stuff. But the swimming is, for anybody that's ever been into it, knows it's all really purely technique. And if you don't know how to hold yourself in the water, you are very inefficient. So I had a swim coach from January. I feel like that started to click a little bit better recently, and we got to doing some longer distances in the pool as well as in like the open water. A lot of training prior to the wedding and the honeymoon, and then there was a good 4 to 6 week period where not a lot really happened. I was doing some stuff, but it was very sporadic. And since coming back the last couple of weeks, I've just got straight back into it. And I'm guessing this is also something to bring up as well for other people. Like if you have periods where you don't train as much and then get back to training, it does feel quite hard for the first week or so. Like even if you only take a week or two break from the gym and then get back in the gym, you like straight away, you just feel a bit weaker. The thing is, as soon as you get back into it, within a week or two, you're almost back to where you were. It just takes a moment just to get yourself back up to speed physically and mentally. And I realized that as well. I went out for like my first run and my first bike ride and my first swim as soon as we got back from the honeymoon. And I was like, oh, wow, I'm so far behind. But suddenly within a week, I feel like I'm back up to speed again already. So I'm just spending the next like few weeks just really gradually increasing the volume of everything that I'm doing. And then the first week of September, I'll bring it back down before the event, the second week of September. So that's pretty much it. Obviously, I've been having like a few problems with my knee and stuff. Anybody who's been watching some of my YouTube will know. But yeah, I think for me, it's a case of I've strength trained most of my life. I've not been necessarily overly mobile. I've not really been into any type of cardio. And then going into what is a high volume, aggressive cardio sport with probably minimal flexibility has not really helped me. So when I finish up this Ironman, I will be doing a lot more TLC just to get the body conditioned and up to speed, ready for the next one. Don't have a crazy amount of time now to work on it, so I'm just trying to work around it more so than work on it at the moment. But I'm guessing this is a reminder to anybody, like, don't avoid stretching. I learned the hard way. I didn't really stretch or do anything like that for, all the way up until my mid-20s. And straight after that is like, yeah, you just can't get away with it, especially if your training output is very high. So that's pretty much a summary of my stuff, but we'll talk more about it in another podcast. Obviously, your stuff now is you've been focusing a lot on your strength training.
Yeah, obviously since coming back, like you said, when we were away, I didn't really like train properly or had no structure. So I was quite looking forward to going back. And obviously with your help, I have a new training plan now. Because like my journey was always very fat loss focused, right? Like I fell in love with training, but I never had like big goals. So when I finished my fat loss last year, then obviously I wanted to do pull-ups. That was always one thing. And a lot of my clients as well, actually, they just want to try to do the 1 or 2 pull-ups. So I go to like 6 or 7. And obviously what's next for me, I've decided to focus on strength, like you said, to work on my glute and my shoulders. So that's my next training phase.
And we've also slowly but surely managed to get you into a bit of running, right?
Slowly.
And we'll bring this up as the very last thing we'll talk about. And
I wasn't going to mention it because
Pavla didn't want to
it
mention
might be a disaster.
She didn't want the pressure, but we've decided to sign up to a half marathon at the end of this week, which Pavla has done very minimal preparation for.
And signed up. Do you know why I've signed up? Sorry to jump in. So Jacob bought me new trainers for my birthday. So then I really like them. So I'm going to use them for a half marathon. I've signed us up for it and I've done barely any training. I've done maybe some the beginning of the year and then literally nothing. And it's coming up to this Sunday. I got an email about it. So we've decided we're going to do it. But in my, I don't know how it's going to end up. I will try my best.
I personally think you'll be fine.
You always
just
say
because
that.
You're light and strong, you carry your weight very well and very easily. And you even went out and did a 10K the other day after just not running for ages. Like, who does that? You'll be fine. And the thing is, I haven't really ran much myself either, even with this Ironman coming up. Because like I said, I've been trying to work around it. So I've been doing a shed ton on the bike because it's low impact, just to keep my aerobic system building. Done loads of swim and then minimal running. But I'm going to do it this weekend and just do it slowly and see how we go. So yeah. We'll keep you updated
in the next
podcast.
About it
in the next one. 2 people attempting a half marathon with next to no training. Maybe not the wisest idea, but we'll see how we go. We'll take it steady. And then that's it. And I guess then obviously the good thing is you getting into your running. It's like it's a bit like the photo shoot stuff. It's the unknown for you. It's different. It's uncomfortable, but it's something you've actually got better with by persevering with it.
That's why I didn't like it, because it was uncomfortable. And even now I have days where I don't necessarily enjoy it, but like I told you when I did the 10K on Sunday, the first couple of kilometers were just boring and I couldn't breathe properly. But then I kind of got into it. I think I just need to learn, like, actually switch off and enjoy the run like you always do.
Yeah, and it's good to have a balance. It's good to be aerobically fit, but also to be strong. You want to be both. Like most people tend to be like very great endurance athletes, but they're very weak and therefore they keep getting injured or they're not as efficient when running or whatever endurance sport they're into. On the flip side, you get some people who have just weight trained their entire life, like me, and you get very heavy, very tight and stiff and not very efficient at things like cardio sports. So now I've obviously tried to make myself a bit more of a hybrid. So have you. They both interlink with each other. You know, if you're strong, you're going to carry yourself better when doing things like running and have more power and less likely to get injured. If you're aerobically fit, you're going to recover faster in between your sets when trying to strength train. So it does have benefit for being, you know, a bit of a hybrid. So yeah, that is it. Anything else you'd like to bring up?
No, I'm just thinking. I think we've covered it all. Yeah, loads of exciting things coming up for the empowerment project for us, obviously. And yeah, obviously we're gonna have shoots. We're gonna do a podcast with, like you mentioned, with our clients and friends from next month. So yeah, there's more to come.
Looking forward to going through that. And if you tuned back into this one, thank you for tuning in. And this time we promise we'll be back.
Yes, we will.
Cool.